feel so sick. How do I even book a doctor's appointment?
Oh, no, I am so sorry you're feeling terrible. But listen, take a deep breath. I got you.
Thank you. My brain is foggy and I just want to crawl back under the covers.
I know navigating the healthcare system when your body aches is incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
But we're going to walk through this together, step by step, like friends figuring it out.
Okay, good. Because I definitely need the help right now.
You don't have to stress about finding the right words,
Yeah.
because we are going to give them to you.
Hey listeners, welcome to English Made Simple. Today our deep dive is all about giving you the exact phrases you need to comfortably and confidently navigate the doctor's office in English.
Yes, which is honestly a total survival skill.
Exactly. And we're treating this not as some boring lesson, but as a friendly walkthrough of realistic phone calls with a clinic receptionist. We'll cover everything from, explaining your symptoms to finding the right appointment slot.
Because honestly, just picking up the phone to call the clinic is like a massive psychological barrier.
Oh, absolutely. When you're sick, your cognitive load is just maxed out. Your brain is functioning at maybe 20% capacity, right?
Right.
You hear the phone ring, the receptionist answers with that brisk, professional tone, and suddenly all your English vocabulary just vanishes. You just revert to panic mode.
It is a universally humbling experience. When we are stressed or physically unwell, accessing a second language becomes exponentially harder.
It really does.
That is exactly why having a few hardwired, memorized scripts is so vital. You don't want to be building complex sentences from scratch when you have a fever.
Definitely not.
So every successful call to a clinic should start with a really polite, straightforward opener that you can just say on autopilot, which is, "I'd like to make a doctor's appointment, please."
I'd like to make a doctor's appointment, please. So no rambling, no over-explaining right out of the gate.
Exactly, just stating the objective.
Yeah.
That sets the procedural tone. Now, the receptionist has a script too, They are inevitably going to follow up with their standard triage question. What's the reason for the appointment?
Ah, yes. This is the exact moment where most people freeze up or start overthinking.
100%.
Because you suddenly feel the pressure to, justify your existence. Like, do I need to use Latin terminology?
Right, like you're reading a medical chart.
Yeah. Do I act like a doctor and say, I suspect a severe upper respiratory infection? Or do I go the other way and just awkwardly say, my head hurts?
Well, neither approach really serves you well there. Using overly clinical terms sounds unnatural, but being too brief, like, "my head hurts," it doesn't give the receptionist enough information to prioritize you.
So what should we do instead?
Think of yourself as a detective handing over a very specific set of clues. You don't need to diagnose the crime, you just need to accurately report what you see and feel.
Okay, I like that. Handing over clues.
Right. So, for example, if a headache is keeping you awake, you wouldn't just say, "I have a headache." You would say, "I've been struggling to get any sleep from a sharp pain in my head."
Wow, okay. The phrase struggling to get any sleep is really doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
It really is.
It's not just a medical fact, it's a human reality. It shows the impact the illness is actually having on your life.
Exactly. It communicates severity without requiring you to sound like a textbook. A receptionist hears headache 100 times a day.
Sure, that makes sense.
But when they hear someone is struggling to get any sleep, it instantly shifts you from being just a medical anomaly on a spreadsheet to an actual human being in distress.
Right, it creates empathy.
Exactly. Or consider a bad cold. You might be tempted to say, "I am coughing." Instead, you upgrade the clue and say, "I've been coughing nonstop for 2 days."
Adding nonstop paints a much more vivid picture. But let's pause on the phrasing here because there is a very specific structure you were using.
Yeah, did you catch that?
Yeah, you aren't saying, I struggle or I cough. You're saying, I have been struggling and I have been coughing. Is there a reason to use that specific wording, or is it just random?
No, it is actually deeply psychological. That structure, "I have been" plus an ecking verb, is the linguistic equivalent of drawing a timeline for the clinic staff.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, if you say "I cough," it sounds like an isolated incident. But if you say "I have been coughing," you are signaling that this misery started in the past, has continued uninterrupted, and is still happening right now as you speak.
Ah, I see.
It paints a portrait of ongoing discomfort. And for intermediate learners, mastering that "I have been doing something," structure is incredibly useful in these scenarios.
That makes total sense. It proves you've endured this for a while and haven't just panicked at the very first sneeze.
Precisely.
But wait, what if the symptom is genuinely hard to describe, or you feel so nauseous that stringing together a vivid sentence is just physically impossible?
That happens a lot. If your brain simply cannot find the descriptive words, you fall back on a broader, universally understood script. You just say, I'm really suffering from this,
Yeah.
and then name the basic body part or issue.
Okay, so like, I'm really suffering from this cough.
Exactly. Or, I'm really suffering from this earache. The word suffering acts as a beacon. It clearly communicates distress and urgency when your vocabulary fails you.
Okay, so we've handed over our clues. The receptionist understands the why. But getting an appointment that actually fits into your life is a completely different puzzle.
Oh, totally.
It's like playing a game of scheduling Tetris. The receptionist is handing you these weirdly shaped blocks of time, and you have to rotate your work and family commitments to make them fit.
Scheduling Tetris is a perfect way to look at it. So once the triage is done, the receptionist might prompt the next phase by asking what day is best for you.
Right.
Or you can take the initiative and ask, do you have a free slot then?
So let's say they offer a slot Tuesday at 11:15 a.m. Unless you are already homesick, that is a terribly awkward time.
Yeah, right in the middle of the morning.
Exactly. You can't just drop your entire life. So how do you reject that time without sounding ungrateful or difficult?
Well, in English, flatly saying, no, I can't do that can sound a bit abrasive. The cultural norm here is to offer a brief, relatable justification to soften the rejection.
Give me an example.
You might say, I need to pick up my boy from nursery at that time, or I'm usually at work then, I'm free in the afternoon.
Okay, so you state the conflict mildly.
Right, and then immediately offer a solution, like, how about Wednesday at 10 a.m.?
It's a negotiation, but you are wrapping it in politeness. I love that.
Exactly.
Now, what about special requests? Say you are booking this appointment, but you feel very strongly about the type of professional you want to see.
Okay, yeah.
I noticed in our notes the phrase, is it possible to see a female doctor or nurse, please? I have to admit, I'd feel extremely hesitant to ask that. Doesn't that make me sound like a picky, high-maintenance patient?
That is a very common fear,
Yeah.
but it's completely unfounded in the modern medical landscape. Patient comfort is a fundamental priority.
Wait, really? They don't mind.
Not at all. Clinics understand that people have preferences for a female or male doctor for deeply personal, religious, or cultural reasons. They are totally prepared for that question and will gladly accommodate it if staffing allows.
Oh, wow, that is really good to know. And what about specifically asking for a nurse instead of a doctor?
Also very common.
Sometimes I feel like I'm wasting a doctor's time if it's just a routine check or a minor issue.
Asking for a nurse is actually a highly efficient strategy. Nurses are incredibly skilled professionals who handle a vast array of medical issues.
So it's not considered rude.
No, not at all. If you ask, the receptionist might instantly say, sure, there is a nurse available at that time. It often gets you seen much faster.
Oh, that makes sense.
And clinics appreciate patients who know what level of care they need. They might even offer a polite tip for the future, noting that sometimes you can book future appointments directly with that specific nurse's desk.
That is so helpful.
And you just respond naturally, oh, that will be a lot easier for me, thank you.
Building that rapport is key. Speaking of helpful tips, if you've been enjoying listening to this, consider subscribing. We love dissecting these everyday scenarios so you can feel confident in the real world.
Absolutely.
But as we all know, the real world doesn't always cooperate. What happens when the receptionist checks the system and delivers the worst possible news? We're fully booked at the moment.
Ah, the dreaded dead end. You've mustered the energy to call, you've explained your suffering, and the door just slams shut.
Right. And the instinct for many people is to just say, okay, thank you, and hang up to suffer in silence.
Which is exactly what you shouldn't do.
But that is my exact instinct. And honestly, part of it is a fear of confrontation. Like if I push back and say, I'm really worried, doesn't that make me sound like a hypochondriac? I always feel like I have to downplay my symptoms so I don't seem dramatic.
Downplaying your symptoms is the worst strategy when the clinic is fully booked. Remember, the receptionist cannot see you.
True. They're just a voice on the phone.
Right. They don't know that you are sweating and clutching your chest. They only have the urgency in your voice to go by. They act as gatekeepers, and they need to know if this is a minor inconvenience or a potential crisis.
Okay, so how do we communicate that politely?
This is where you use a script of polite vulnerability. You ask, do you have anything sooner? And then you validate your own concern. I'm worried about this cough.
I'm worried about this cough. It's honest. It doesn't accuse the receptionist of being unhelpful. It just centers your own legitimate fear.
Yes. It invites them to help you problem solve
Right.
rather than just demanding a slot they don't have. If they truly are at zero capacity, you pivot to the next tactical script, which is the cancellation list.
Ah, the cancellation
You
list.
tell them, if there's a cancellation, I'll just take that slot.
That feels exactly like flying standby at the airport. You have your bags packed, you are sitting at the gate, staring at the boarding screen, just praying someone else misses their connection so you can sprint onto the plane.
That is the perfect analogy.
You have to be totally flexible, keep your phone off silent, and be ready to drop everything the second they call.
You are essentially flying standby for healthcare. The receptionist will usually say, if there's a cancellation, I can let you know. But we have to address the scenario where flying standby simply isn't an option because the situation is escalating.
Right. If you have an awful rash, you can wait by the phone. If you can't breathe, you need a different script entirely.
In those escalating emergencies, the clinic receptionist will usually advise you of your ultimate backup plan. They might say, unfortunately, I can't do anything. You can go to A&E if you like.
So let's clarify A&E for everyone because medical acronyms change depending on where you are in the world.
Good point. A&E stands for Accident and Emergency. It's the hospital department designated for serious, immediate, life-threatening medical issues.
And it's always open, right?
Yes. The critical thing to remember about A&E, and a good phrase to use if you need to double-check is, can you tell me when A&E is open?
Yeah.
Is that it is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It is the ultimate safety net. Okay, so we've covered the struggle of getting the appointment, battling through being fully booked, and navigating emergencies. Let's flip the script for a second.
Okay, let's do it.
What if the problem is actually you? You fought tooth and nail for this 10 a.m. Wednesday slot, but now your car broke down, or your boss scheduled a mandatory meeting. You have to cancel.
Well, life is unpredictable. When you become the roadblock, you call the clinic and use a very specific phrase. I'd like to change my appointment.
Okay, simple enough.
But then the receptionist will invariably ask why you need to change it.
And this is a fascinating moment in English communication because we have a culturally ingrained phrase that is perfectly polite but beautifully intentionally vague.
Oh, I know this one.
You just say something important came up.
Something important came up. Now, hold on. Isn't that just a polite way of lying?
Not at all.
Because if the truth is that I double-booked myself with a haircut, wouldn't it be better to just be honest? Why the vagueness? It's not lying. It's a form of boundary setting. English politeness relies heavily on maintaining a professional distance. If you tell the receptionist, I double-booked myself with a haircut, or my dog ate something weird, you are oversharing.
Oh, I guess that is oversharing, yeah.
And oversharing forces the receptionist into an awkward social position where they have to evaluate your excuse. By saying something important came up, you provide a socially acceptable placeholder.
That makes a lot of sense.
It signals that you respect their time enough to cancel, but you are keeping the details private.
That is a really profound way to look at it. The vagueness protects both you and the receptionist from an awkward interaction. But I have to say, even with that perfect phrase, I always feel a massive wave of guilt when canceling.
I think we all do.
Receptionists always sound so stressed, and during flu season, their hold message even warned you, this is a very busy time for us. Please avoid changing appointments. It makes you feel like a criminal for calling.
The guilt is real, but let's reframe that. Keeping an appointment that is a massive logistical nightmare for you helps no one.
Fair point.
Think back to our standby analogy. When you call and say, I'd like to change my appointment, you are actively opening up a slot for that desperate person waiting by their phone. You are actually doing a good deed for the ecosystem of the clinic.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and the receptionist will usually find a new time relatively quickly. They'll say, I have a slot available on Thursday at 8 a.m., and you close the deal with, I'll take that, please.
Guilt absolved. You've rescued someone on the standby list and secured your new time. But just because you finally see the doctor doesn't mean you are free from the communication hurdles. Walking out of the clinic often thrusts you right back into the booking loop.
Yes, a dreaded follow-up appointment. You get to the front desk, or you call the next day and say, I've just seen the doctor. He said I need to make another appointment.
And then the receptionist will ask, what's the appointment for?
Exactly. And you have to state your business again. A very common one, and one that always makes my heart beat a little faster, is he wants to discuss my scan results.
Oof. Yeah, scan results definitely carry an emotional weight.
They really do.
Huh.
But regardless of whether you are booking your first visit for a cough or a follow-up for scan results, there is an administrative wall you have to climb over before the interaction is truly finished.
The identity check.
You will hear this phrase, usually at the very beginning or the very end of the process. Please, can you confirm your name and date of birth?
Okay, so you dutifully reply with your details. 6th of August, 1992, and maybe your address, 15 Lonsdale Road. But I have to ask about this because it drives me crazy.
Why is that?
Why do they ask for this every single time? I could literally have just walked out of the doctor's office, walked 10 feet to the receptionist's desk to book a follow-up, and they still look at me and ask for my date of birth. Do they think I developed amnesia in the hallway?
I know, it feels incredibly robotic and repetitive from the patient's perspective. But when you look at the sheer scale of the medical system, it makes perfect sense. It is a strict, non-negotiable safety protocol.
Safety protocol.
Yeah, think about it. A mid-sized clinic might have 10 patients named John Smith or Maria Garcia in their database.
Yeah.
Asking for a secondary identifier like the 6th of August, 1992, or your specific street address ensures absolute patient privacy and prevents catastrophic mix-ups.
When you put it like that, it makes sense. If I'm calling to talk about something as sensitive as scan results, the absolute last thing I want is for the doctor to pull up the chart of a different person who just happens to share my name.
Precisely. The robotic repetition is actually a shield protecting your medical data.
Okay, I will try to be less annoyed by it next time.
Good idea. And once you've navigated the symptoms, survived the scheduling Tetris, and cleared the administrative wall of your date of birth, you finally reach the finish line. You will hear the golden phrases.
Tell me the golden phrases. I need some good news.
The receptionist will wrap up the call by stating, "You're all booked in," or the wonderfully brief, "all done."
You're all booked in, all done. It is like reaching the summit of a mountain. You can finally put the phone down, collapse back into bed, and just focus on drinking fluids.
And this brings us to a really fascinating observation about the psychology of these interactions. Something for you to think about next time you have to make one of these calls.
Oh, what's the takeaway here?
Notice the stark contrast in tone during these phone calls. As a patient, you are naturally vulnerable. You are in pain, you are anxious, you are using phrases laced with emotion like, "I'm really suffering," or "I'm worried about this cough."
Yeah, you are carrying an enormous emotional weight.
Exactly. But listen to the receptionist's language. It is entirely different.
It really is. It's almost startlingly calm.
Yes. Their language is steady, neutral, and procedural. What's the reason for the appointment? Please confirm your date of birth. You're all booked in.
So what's the advice?
Here is the tactical advice. Next time you have to call the doctor, recognize that contrast and actively try to match their calm, procedural tone. You do not need to perform your illness for them.
Wait, really?
Yes. You don't need to sound breathless or dramatic to prove you are sick.
You'd just be the detective handing over the facts.
Exactly. By adopting their steady cadence and relying on the exact tactical scripts we discussed today, it actually removes the emotional pressure from your shoulders.
I love that.
You let the structured phrases of the English language do all the heavy lifting, which allows you to conserve your precious energy for what actually matters, which is healing.
I think that is incredibly empowering. You don't have to convince anyone of your suffering. You just state the facts, using the right scripts, secure the slot, and get the medical help you need. It turns a terrifying, anxiety-inducing ordeal into a completely manageable transaction.
That is exactly the goal.
Well, this has been an incredibly helpful deep dive. Don't forget to like this video and drop a comment sharing your thoughts and subscribe for more.